Welcome to TRT World. I am Semir Sejfovic, and in this week's Across the Balkans, we bring you the latest stories from the region and how countries, governments, and populations are affected. A street fight in Montenegro left a young man stabbed and ignited mass detentions, a wave of Islamophobia, and sudden visa restrictions on Turkish citizens. Investigations later found no Turkish involvement, yet the community and businesses were targeted. How did authorities respond? And what are the diplomatic and economic stakes, including possible retaliation from Ankara? More from Mirjana Miladinovic.
A street fight in Podgorica in October between Montenegrine and foreign citizens, resulting in a young Montenegrine man being stabbed. In the aftermath, a surge of hate speech on Montenegrine streets, the sudden introduction of visas for Turkish citizens, and mass arrests of Turks, alongside chants threatening harm. Turkish businesses were destroyed and cars were set ablaze. Two suspects, one from Turkey and one from Azerbaijan, were arrested but were later released as they had no involvement in the stabbing. Police said they are searching for two other Azerbaijani citizens suspected of the attack. The government says there is a need for new laws and clear rules to prevent the stigmatization of foreigners.
Suludo je slati poruke bilo kome, bilo kom stranom državljaninu da nije dobrodošao u našu zemlju. To je samoubistvo, ekonomsko samoubistvo. I moramo da se suzdržimo od takvih izliva emocija koje smo nažalost svjedočili u prethodnom periodu. S druge strane, ni po koju cijenu nećemo dozvoliti da neko zloupotrijebi naše tradicionalno gostoprimstvo.
Parliamentarians are calling for calm, asserting that the unrest is temporary and that institutions are resilient.
Slične scene smo gledali na ulicama najvećih gradova Evropske unije, a njihova demokratija je pronalazila rešenja i adekvatne odgovore.
Critics claim the government's reaction was lacking and the introduction of visas lacked proper introspection. Ivan Vukovic, who signed a twinning agreement with Ankara during his time as mayor of Podgorica, expressed regret.
Mi smo odlučili da se onako junačimo, što se kaže. Ja se plašim, i to sam rekao u parlamentu, da će stotine i hiljade naših ljudi to osjetiti na svojoj koži. Pritom mislim na ljude koji se liječe na turskim klinikama, ljude koji studiraju tamo, ljude koji su vezani poslovnim vezama sa kompanijama iz Turske, kojih je puno u Crnoj Gori, da se postaramo da nam se ova sramota zbilja koju tako doživljavam i zbog koje se izvinjavam svim našim turskim prijateljima i želim da im pošaljem poruku da ih većinska Crna Gora vidi drugačije od onoga što je možda njihov utisak ovih dana, da nam se to nikada više ne ponovi.
One historian warns that recent events in Montenegro exemplify xenophobia and Islamophobia.
Iskustvo Crne Gore sa ovim posljednjim slučajem potvrđuje da mi zaista iz tih 90-ih, nažalost, ništa nismo uspjeli da naučimo. Ono što se dešava je duboko potreslo sve, da kažem, normalne ljude u Crnoj Gori i, međutim, nažalost, to je neka slika današnje Crne Gore, zato što ukoliko vi generišete desničarski narativ, ukoliko generišete jednu potajnu islamofobiju, jednu ksenofobiju, ukoliko imate medijsku pripremu svega onoga, a ovdje postoji medijska priprema, ovdje postoji jasna organizacija, ovdje postoji čitav scenario koji je doveo do onoga što se dešavalo sporne noći, mislim da rezultat ne može biti ništa drugo nego one ružne scene koje smo gledali.
The wave of hatred spread quickly across Montenegro, prompting representatives of the Bosniak community to urge authorities to react quickly.
Jer je ovo zaista jedan slučaj koji je izazvao jedan domino efekat širenja neke netrpeljivosti, mržnje i nimalo lijepih poruka koje idu iz Crne Gore. Vidjeli ste, svjedočimo tome da su upućene i prijetnje smrću reisu islamske zajednice u Crnoj Gori. Zaista ih i ovim putem osuđujem. Neprihvatljivo je da se jednom vjerskom poglavaru na takav način prijeti samo zato što je čovjek iznio svoj stav i optužio nekoga za koga misli da je on zapravo pokretač svih ovih dešavanja u Crnoj Gori.
The head of Islamic community accused Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić of taking revenge on Turkey through Montenegro because it sold military drones to Kosovo.
Koji je on okarakterisao, kao što kažete, kao izraz neosmanskih ambicija Republike Turske na Balkanu. Dakle, potpuno je jasno svim ljudima koji iole razumiju kako funkcionišu politički procesi u regionu i u Crnoj Gori trenutno, da to što Vučić kaže predstavlja politički zadatak za njegovu političku poslugu u Crnoj Gori.
Amid this turmoil, misinformation has circulated regarding the number of Turkish citizens living in Montenegro. Some MPs said that there were over 100,000, although the actual figure is closer to 10,000. This has been accompanied by fabricated stories that Turkish citizens kidnapped a child in a shopping mall or committed other violent acts. However, the market reacted faster than political measures.
After the unsettling scenes on the streets and the rushed political moves that followed, the economic impact is being felt. The focus now shifts from power plays to the price tag for trade and investment.
Uncertainty is expensive and it multiplies quickly in a small tourism-dependent economy.
Ani bir kararla Türklere serbest vize rejimi kaldırıldı. Bunun ilk etkilerini İşte Türk Hava Yolları uçaklarındaki yolcu sayılarından da görebiliriz. Bir otel yatırımımız var Budva'da. Rezervasyonlarımız derhal cancel edildi. İnşaat firmaları çok büyük problem yaşayacaklar. Acele karar vermek istemiyoruz. Beklemek, görmek istiyoruz.
One economist translates that into budgets and hiring. That depends on consumer spending, and investors punish unpredictability.
92 milijuna eura su turske investicije samo u prvih 9 mjeseci 2025. godine, što stavlja Tursku na prvo mjesto po prilivu direktnih stranih investicija u Crnu Goru, jako su dominantno u građevinu. Taj novac je ostao u našem sistemu i taj novac je iskorišten za rast naše ekonomije.
From the businesses community, there's a plea for patience and a note of solidarity for Montenegrins.
Olaylar yaşandığında tabii ki bir tedirginlik yaşandı. Birçok yatırımcımız bizi aradı. Kendilerini güvende hissetmedikleri yönünde ama aynı anda birçok Karadağ vatandaşı yatırımcılarımızdan acil radikal kararlar almamalarını rica ettim. Şu anda biz de bekliyoruz, ümit ediyoruz. Yani daha önce kurmuş olduğumuz iyi ilişkilerin bu kadar kolayca heba olmasını istemiyoruz. Ben Karadağ'ın büyük çoğunluğunun bu olayları kınadığına eminim.
Diplomacy is built on reciprocity, meaning actions in Podgorica can trigger response in Ankara, which is yet to be articulated. The Turkish embassy said 250,000 people of Montenegrin origin living in Turkey will also feel the repercussions of this situation. Mirjana Miladinović, Across the Balkans, Podgorica, Montenegro.
We speak with Aida Cerkez, an investigative journalist and editor at the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, whose organization released the Panama Papers a few years ago on the latest Balkan developments, the U.S. lifting of sanctions on Republika Srpska and its leaders, Serbia's ongoing crisis and protests, Montenegro's visa ban on Turkish citizens, and the broader role of the international community in the region. We're seeing a lot of movement happening in the Balkans. Just recently, the U.S. lifted sanctions on Bosnian Serb leader Milorad Dodik. and several other of his associates. How does this impact Bosnia and Herzegovina, the rule of law, and the justice system which exists according to the constitution of Bosnia and Herzegovina?
The recent lifting of the sanctions was perceived in different ways in different parts of Bosnia and Herzegovina. It was, of course, very welcomed in Republika Srpska, in the Serb part, although I really don't understand why. Because it's simply lifting sanctions against one person, his companies, and a couple of friends. So I don't really see how that, why an average Serb person would be happy for that. It's more symbolic. Mr. Dodik has been giving for years millions of dollars to lobbying firms in Washington, and that's money from the Republika Srpska budget. It's not his money.
From people that are struggling to keep ends meet.
That's taxpayers' money, you know. That's taxpayers' money for the defense of one person and his friends and tens of his companies that are tied to him. Now, his companies were sanctioned because of corruption. He was sanctioned because of obstruction of the Dayton Peace Agreement and because he violated the Constitution several times with his policy of segregation and his demands for Republika Srpska to be an independent country and actually to join neighboring Serbia, which is actually a wartime goal. Mr. Dodik and his party have pushed through in recent times several laws in the Parliament of Republika Srpska, which you would call unconstitutional and a preparation for Republika Srpska's independence. Those laws were retracted in one day, several days before the United States lifted the sanctions against him. So in a way, you could also interpret this like, you give up that policy, get rid of all of those recently adopted unconstitutional laws that are really threatening the peace here, and we'll lift sanctions. And he did that. Very pragmatic. But we will see what will happen next, you know. Some say that Dodik can always return those laws, but you can also reimpose sanctions again.
Bosnia and Herzegovina is not the only problem right now in the Balkans. We're seeing a rise of nationalism in Montenegro. Just last week, we had attacks on Turkish citizens who are actually representing a minority in terms of how many other nationalities, such as Russians, Ukrainians, Serbs themselves, are living in Montenegro. How do you see that this driven nationalism, according to officials from Montenegro, comes from the Serbian Orthodox Church, will display in Montenegro?
Turkey has sold drones to Kosovo, and apparently has also said that if Serbia attacks the Bosniaks in Bosnia, it'll deal with 100 million Turks. Somebody said he said that, and that's enough, you know. In Montenegro, I don't think it's xenophobia, because no other group, you know, there are much more Russians and other nationalities that live there with this tiny little group of Turkish citizens. It was easy to manipulate people in Montenegro to go against the Turkish minority because of history. Apparently, one incident was used to ignite this whole crisis. There is this negative sentiment that can ignite nationalism in terms of not just nationalism, but intolerance and hatred toward the Turks. At any moment, in any crisis that could occur, that's the first thing that pops up. So that I think it's a part of the Serbian plan to destabilize Montenegro and to prevent it from making further steps toward the EU membership. You know.
Can we say that in Montenegro right now we're seeing a display of irrational, factless political acts compared to official numbers, rational calculations?
Absolutely. You know, you see this in statements. Like there was one statement like, "Oh, there's 110,000 Turks." That's not true. There are 13,000 Turks in Montenegro. And it's you know, but that's manipulation, you know, with numbers, with sentiments, and inciting fear. But because the more turmoil, the more fascism, the more intolerance toward minorities in Montenegro, that's always a step back on Montenegro's path toward the EU, which Serbia doesn't want to see, Montenegro in the EU.
How deep-rooted are the existing policies of Slobodan Milošević if we take into consideration the ongoing protests in Serbia, and where will this influence of his Slobodan Milošević's policies end up in the Balkans?
Serbia has really never given up on meddling in Bosnia, in Kosovo, in Montenegro. And you do know that Mr. Vučić is actually part of that regime. He's just carrying on. He's very, when he talks, you know, you would kind of even believe him, but when he acts, you see what's going on. However, the students in Serbia who are protesting for almost a year, not almost, actually a whole year, that has shaken that regime like never before. He's afraid, he is disoriented, he's not in control anymore. His followers are lying more and more through their media. It is becoming more and more obvious to the average Serb that this whole thing is a lie. And that has shaken his government like never before. I think for the students there is no way back. They seem to be decently organized, but not enough to pose a real threat in elections. But we will see. Yeah, maybe they have something in mind that we don't know. And to distract attention from internal problems that he is realistically having, I expected that he's going to start meddling in Kosovo and to create more and more crisis, and he's tried that. Didn't really work. He's tried with the lies. Didn't really work. Then he apologized, and then they didn't accept it. I think this is somehow the beginning of an end, but it's going to take a very, very long time.
Nearly a year after elections, Kosovo still doesn't have a functioning government. With ongoing local elections and no coalition in sight, key decisions, including the 2026 budget, remain on hold. Ada Mamunu has more.
2026 is almost here, and 9 months after Kosovo went to the polls to elect a new parliament, the country is still without a government. This political stalemate might also be plaguing the country's local elections, which first took place in October. There are now planned runoffs in a number of municipalities. Caretaker Prime Minister Albin Kurti's Self-Determination Party struggled in key urban centres such as Pristina, Prizren and Mitrovica. These local polls represent a critical moment for Kurti, who has historically done well in parliamentary elections, but consistently struggled in local ones. Local elections took place against institutional gridlock stemming from this year's parliamentary election and tensions between Kosovo's ethnic Albanian majority and ethnic Serb minority. Beyond the local elections, without a working government, Kosovo's 2026 budget risks not being passed. and this will affect public sector salaries, infrastructure projects, and essential social services. Additionally, this could have implications on already stagnated talks with Serbia. At this moment, there is still no set date or time frame for the next parliamentary election. It remains to be seen how long it will take for the country to resolve its political deadlock. Aida Cerkez, Across the Balkans.
Some of them disappeared without a trace. Others have been found, but the mystery of their sinking is still unclear. To this day, shipwrecks remain an enigma, and another one has just surfaced off the coast of Bulgaria. Aida Cerkez has more.
Ships have sailed the Black Sea for more than 2,400 years, so there is a good chance there are many secrets below its surface. And what's incredible is that the sea's unique ecological environment allows it to preserve ancient shipwrecks. It has to do with very low levels of oxygen at shallow depths, allowing Black Sea shipwrecks to be better preserved when compared to other Mediterranean wrecks from the same period. In most seawater, wood and rope decays quickly, but the unusual water chemistry of the Black Sea slows rates of disintegration. In June 2025, a wooden ship believed to be from Ottoman era has been discovered off the coast of Bulgaria. The country's Center for Underwater Archaeology has sent a specialized diving team to explore it.
Кораба е с дървен кораб, от дърво е. Останали са малка част само от долната част на кораба, кила и обшивката. Има близо до него керамични съдове, които са потрошени. Сега не знаем, като го изровим до край какво отдолу не очаква, какви изненади крие.
It's not the first time a sunken ship has been found in Sozopol Bay. The US steamship Mopag that sank 100 years ago in Black Sea was found after a fuel oil leak in 2018. The Mopag sank without casualties, thanks to brave fishermen who rescued the sailors. Naida Ned, a Bulgarian diving instructor, elaborated on the ship's origin.
Части, които имаше по дъските, те разбраха, че кораба е османски кораб, някъде 18-19 век е бил произведен, не се знае точно времето на потъването и се видя една тухла, която даде насока, че може би този кораб е превозвал тухли от тухларната в Черноморец. На времето е имало такава. Вече от археолозите зависи дали ще му направят щателно откриване или се остане така както е, но вероятността да се вади горе на сушата е много малка, защото той ще се разруши.
This grows the list of sunken vessels in Sozopol Bay, adding to the rich history submerged beneath the waters of the Black Sea. The allure of exploring ancient shipwrecks like this Ottoman-era vessel continues to attract both divers and historians alike. Aida Cerkez, Across the Balkans.
At least 11 people were killed in a fire at a nursing home in Tuzla in northeastern Bosnia on Tuesday evening. Dozens more were injured and were rescued by firefighters and police officers. Authorities have launched an investigation into the cause of the fire. Aida Cerkez reports.
This building housed elderly residents in Tuzla in Bosnia. Many were reportedly bedridden and suffering from severe dementia and cancer. But it became a death trap when a fire broke out on the 7th floor on Tuesday night, killing at least 11 people and injuring dozens, including emergency workers.
Kad je ono počelo nešto pucat, ja ne znam da li su u mene prozori ostali, jer su popucali, 301, ja sam treći sprat. I počelo je, nešto ruši se tamo ovamo, ja sam odmah recepciju zvala, nisam mogla dobiti. Međutim, pogledala sam na prozore, ono dozgor idu sve ovako velike, one rske već padaju. Onda sam izašla na hodnik i javio mi se neko, kaže, gdje ste, jeste li ugroženi? Nisam, rekao, ja ugrožena, ali ne mogu u sobi biti. Čuje mi se dim.
More than 60 people were evacuated from the 6th and 7th floors by emergency workers, who described the rescue as difficult because many residents were barely able to move. A spokesperson for the Tuzla University Clinical Center confirmed several patients were being treated for carbon monoxide poisoning.
Situacija je bila jako teška, jer ovo su jako, što kažu, kritični i teški požari gdje se radi o nepokretnim, slabo pokretnim licima, kao i to da se vrši paralelno i evakuacija i spašavanje.
Government officials across Bosnia expressed their condolences and support for Tuzla, where investigations into the cause of the fire have already begun.
Angažovani su vještaci elektrostruke i protivpožarne zaštite i zaštite na radu koji će sad već trenutno obavljaju uviđaj zajedno sa dežurnim tužiocem i istražiteljima sektora kriminalističke policije u cilju utvrđivanja uzroka i okolnosti koji su doveli do ove strašne tragedije koja je zadesila Tuzlu, Tuzlanski kanton i Bosnu i Hercegovinu.
The cause of the fire may not yet be known, but local media reported that residents and their relatives had criticised conditions at the nursing home for years. For now, officials are focusing on finding new homes for the survivors. Aida Cerkez, Across the Balkans.
Thank you very much for watching TRT World and letting us once again take you across the Balkans. That is all from the team for this week. We hope to see you next time.